Could America ever fall apart? Imagine a future where individual states declare independence and reshape the map of the United States. Which states are most likely to break away and why? Stick around, because what we're about to reveal will surprise you. The United States has long been seen as a strong and unified country. But beneath its surface lies a patchwork of states with unique cultures, economies, and political dynamics. Throughout history, some regions have flirted with the idea of secession. Today, we're counting down 10 states that might break away from the Union in the future. We'll explore their motivations, historical precedents, and current movements pushing for independence. By the end, you'll understand why this isn't just a wild, what if, but a scenario rooted in real tensions. State number 10. Puerto Rico is a U.S. territory, but many residents feel it should determine its own future. Calls for independence stem from a long history of colonialism and self-determination movements. The island has a distinct culture, blending Spanish, African, and indigenous influences. Puerto Rico's economy relies on tourism, agriculture, and manufacturing. Critics argue independence could worsen the island's economic struggles. Proponents believe secession could strengthen Puerto Rico's national identity. Its geographical location makes it a strategic Caribbean hub. Puerto Rico's current status limits its voting rights in U.S. federal elections. Many residents desire either statehood or independence for greater autonomy. An independent Puerto Rico could establish stronger ties with Latin America. Its vibrant culture and history set it apart from the mainland U.S. Critics worry about the economic challenges of transitioning to independence. Could Puerto Rico finally realize its dream of becoming a sovereign nation? The debate over its future status continues to divide residents. What does the future hold for this unique Caribbean territory? State number 9. Vermont has a strong tradition of independence, once existing as the Vermont Republic from 1777 to 1791. Known for its small population, the state emphasizes community and local governance. Vermont's progressive politics often clash with federal policies. The Second Vermont Republic movement advocates for peaceful secession. The state's economy relies on agriculture, tourism, and artisanal goods. Vermont values sustainability, making it a leader in environmental policy. Critics argue the state's small size could hinder economic independence. Vermont's sense of identity is rooted in its rural and agricultural heritage. Many residents believe federal policies don't represent their values. The state's commitment to education and healthcare could attract new residents. Independence advocates argue secession would allow for more localized governance. Vermont's small military presence raises questions about defense. Proponents see secession as a way to preserve the state's unique culture. Could Vermont revive its history as an independent republic? What would the Green Mountain State look like as its own nation? State number 8. Washington State, home to tech giants like Microsoft and Amazon, has a booming economy. Its proximity to Canada and Pacific trade routes strengthens its global ties. Like Oregon, it's part of the Cascadia independence movement. Seattle's progressive values often clash with federal policies. The state's natural resources include timber, hydroelectric power, and seafood. Independence advocates argue Washington could lead in innovation and sustainability. Critics worry about reliance on federal funds for infrastructure and services. Washington's exports, including aerospace products, boost its economic independence. Its strong connection to the Pacific Rim makes it a trade powerhouse. The Cascadia movement emphasizes cultural and environmental unity. Rural areas often oppose urban-driven secession movements. Washington's history of activism supports its independent streak. The state's progressive policies attract those seeking an alternative to federal governance. Could Washington thrive as a Pacific hub in an independent Cascadia? Is the Emerald State ready to shine as a nation of its own? State number 7. Oregon's rugged landscapes and natural beauty define its identity. Known for its progressive politics, the state often diverges from federal policies. The Cascadia movement envisions Oregon joining Washington and British Columbia as an independent region. The state's economy relies on technology, agriculture, and forestry. Portland's countercultural scene strengthens Oregon's unique identity. Independence advocates argue federal policies don't address local needs. Oregon's renewable energy efforts could position it as a green nation. Critics worry about the state's ability to fund social services independently. Its strategic location on the Pacific coast fosters international trade. Rural and urban divides create tension over independence discussions. The Cascadia movement emphasizes environmental preservation and autonomy. Proponents see secession as a way to advance progressive policies. Oregon's strong community ties could support self-governance. Critics question how the state would handle defense and security. Could Oregon become a leader in sustainability as an independent nation? State number 6. New York boasts one of the largest economies in the world, comparable to nations like South Korea. New York City is a global financial capital, home to Wall Street and the UN headquarters. Its cultural influence extends through art, fashion, and media. Many New Yorkers feel their tax dollars disproportionately fund less populous states. Independence advocates argue the state could manage its own economy effectively. New York has extensive infrastructure to support international trade and diplomacy. The state's population density could pose challenges for self-governance. Critics worry about the economic divide between NYC and upstate regions. New York has a strong history of immigration and global connections. Its financial and cultural significance gives it leverage in secession discussions. Proponents believe independence would allow for more localized governance. The state's high cost of living could complicate secession efforts. Its progressive policies often clash with federal government decisions. Could New York's identity as a global city-state become a reality? What would an independent empire state look like on the world stage? State number 5. Florida is known as the Sunshine State, attracting millions of tourists yearly. Its strong economy is fueled by tourism, agriculture, and international trade. The state's cultural diversity sets it apart from other U.S. states. Florida is geographically and economically tied to the Caribbean region. Independence advocates argue it could thrive as a gateway between the Americas. Miami serves as an international hub for finance and trade. Its unique blend of cultures fosters a distinct identity. The state's vulnerability to hurricanes raises concerns about self-reliance. Florida's retirement communities could struggle without federal support. Its ports and infrastructure position it for global trade independence. Some residents feel disconnected from federal policies affecting the Midwest or Northeast. Florida's large Cuban and Latin American populations influence its politics and culture. Critics argue secession could worsen wealth inequality within the state. The state's rapid population growth adds complexity to independence debates. Could Florida's sunny shores someday belong to a separate nation? State number 4. Alaska was purchased from Russia in 1867 for $7.2 million. It is geographically separated from the mainland, bordering Canada instead. Known for its vast wilderness, Alaska is rich in natural resources. Oil and gas industries dominate its economy. The Alaska Independence Party has long advocated for secession. Alaskans often feel disconnected from federal politics. The state's small population values self-reliance and independence. Critics worry about the economic challenges of maintaining infrastructure. Alaska could thrive by exporting oil, seafood, and natural resources. Its strategic location is critical for U.S. military operations. Many residents believe the federal government mismanages its resources. Independence advocates argue the state would benefit from keeping its revenue. Alaskans have a strong cultural connection to their land. Its harsh climate fosters a spirit of resilience and autonomy. Will Alaska ever choose to stand alone on the global stage? State number 3. Hawaii was an independent kingdom before its annexation by the U.S. in 1898. Many native Hawaiians view the annexation as illegal and unjust. Its geographical isolation makes it feel disconnected from the mainland. Tourism is Hawaii's primary industry, drawing millions of visitors annually. The state has a strong cultural identity rooted in Polynesian traditions. Movements for sovereignty have gained traction in recent years. Independence advocates argue Hawaii could sustain itself economically. Hawaii's military significance complicates secession prospects. Native Hawaiians seek to reclaim their cultural and political autonomy. Critics worry about the economic impact of losing federal funding. Its lush landscapes and unique biodiversity set it apart from the U.S. Hawaii's location makes it a strategic hub for the Pacific region. Some residents believe independence would preserve the state's environment. Calls for a return to the Hawaiian kingdom grow stronger each year. Could Hawaii's future be as independent as its past? State number 2. California is the 5th largest economy in the world, surpassing countries like India and the UK. Known for its progressive politics, It often clashes with federal policies. The Calexit movement gained attention after the 2016 U.S. election. California's agricultural industry supplies much of the nation's produce. Its Hollywood influence makes it a global cultural hub. Many Californians believe their taxes disproportionately fund other states. The tech industry, centered in Silicon Valley, is a global leader. Critics argue that California's high cost of living could complicate independence. Some cities, like San Francisco and Los Angeles, feel culturally distinct from the U.S. California's diverse population adds strength to its independence argument. It has the infrastructure to manage foreign relations independently. Proponents believe independence could improve environmental policies. California is geographically positioned to thrive in global trade. Some residents view federal policies as barriers to state progress. Is California ready to become its own global superpower? State number 1. Texas is often referred to as the Lone Star State, symbolizing its independent spirit. Before joining the Union, Texas was an independent republic from 1836 to 1845. With a GDP larger than Canada, Texas has the economic strength to stand alone. It is home to major industries like oil, technology, and agriculture. The Texas nationalist movement actively advocates for secession. Many Texans feel the federal government imposes too many regulations. Its unique culture and identity set it apart from the rest of the U.S. Texas has its own power grid, emphasizing self-sufficiency. Historically, it has threatened to secede during political disputes. Proponents argue Texas could become a global economic powerhouse. Critics say breaking away could harm its trade relationships. Texas's vast size and resources make secession feasible. The sentiment for independence is particularly strong in rural areas. Some experts see Texas as the most likely state to secede. Could Texas truly live up to its Lone Star name in the future? From Texas's fierce independence to Vermont's historical roots, these 10 states show us just how diverse and dynamic the United States truly is. While secession may seem far-fetched, these movements highlight real tensions and aspirations. So, what do you think? Could the U.S. ever break apart? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more fascinating insights into the world's future. See you in the next video.